Welcome back to the Manor. Julian McBain here, and this is my 60-second Saturday vlog. These are trying times, my friends. Something that I'd always been concerned I'd face in my lifetime, but I hoped I would never actually have to deal with, is now occurring. We have a global pandemic in the form of coronavirus, which is, to be fair, not what I was afraid we might be facing. My biggest fear was that if a pandemic came during my lifetime, it would be avian flu, H5N1. Avian flu, which has I think it's a 66% mortality rate, or it's a 33% mortality rate. It's 1/3 or 2/3. I just can't remember the exact number. And in fact, I should probably look that up. %60. That's what I was afraid we were going to face. Thankfully, H5N1 still ends up being not easily transmissible to humans. And with any luck, it won't become easily transmissible to humans anytime in ever. Let's just say ever. But we do have coronavirus, and coronavirus is currently sitting at about 3.6 overall mortality rate, in some places higher than others, and certain demographics, specifically age groups, higher than others. For instance, the mortality rate in the elderly, I think, sits at something like 18%, which is horrific, whereas in the younger demographics, especially children, it's sitting at something like 0.5%. And I'm not here doing this vlog to do information on the coronavirus. I'm sure all of you are getting it like every minute of every day, but it does make you think about things. And it does make you consider, we live in interesting times. And the interesting times that I always thought I would live in, I figured if it was going to get interesting, it was going to be war. And we have war, but it's a different type of war than what I expected, because I was expecting like World War II war, or at worst, or worse yet, the worst type of war, nuclear war. And you've got to keep in mind, the Berlin Wall was still standing when I started school. Not for very long, because I believe it came down, it was either 89 or 91. Again, before I do these, I should take notes, but this is a vlog where I just kind of spout things off. No, that's the entire purpose. It was 89, okay. I remember watching the news. I just couldn't remember the year. Oh yeah, 89 was the Wall, 91 I believe was the Gulf War. The first one. And that's what I thought it would be. Instead, we have coronavirus, which, as far as global pandemics go, I'm not going to downplay the danger or the concern or the necessity that you take appropriate steps. But I was terrified it was going to be far, far worse. And it comes with a certain amount of relief that the pandemic that we're facing, at least this time around, has only a 3% mortality rate. And again, I'm not downplaying how serious it is. It was just compared to what I was afraid it would be when I heard that there was a virus coming out of China, and I know that China has recently recorded a couple of cases of avian flu in humans. Isolated incidents, contact with birds, they did all the wrong things to contract H5N1, but they still got it. And I was terrified that was what they were going to announce it was, and then they use a name like coronavirus, which I don't fucking know what a coronavirus is, right? So I had to go research it, and at first I thought it's like, oh god, is this like another name for avian flu? And it's no. It's a novel virus of a family that is very common. So And all this has gone through my brain in like the last 2 weeks. Well, no, because I found out about... When did I find out about Corona? When it first came out is when my brain kind of hitched on. But it was still isolated in China at the time, so it didn't really come to my brain. Now there's cases all over the United States, even though they're relatively few. It's probably peaked at 1,000 today. I haven't checked the numbers since this morning. It was 980 something on the WHO website when I checked it this morning. There's 2 cases in my state of Vermont. They have been quickly and decisively handled, and so I know that with time and the appropriate actions, that everything is going to turn out. And it's going to get bad for a while, or could get bad for a while. And as long as you're responsible and you prepare and you do the things that the CDC suggests, we should pull through as a society. I know, I don't have the levity that Warspeed had on his recent video regarding the new shares, which I will get into shortly, because I want to check it. I haven't even checked it out yet. Oh, market. There's 706,000 of these bastards on sale? Holy shit. Oh, wow. $10 a pop. I could currently buy 50 of them. I'm not going to buy 50 of them, but I could. With what I've got on my pet card. So in non-pandemic related news, I'm glad to say I got a job. So when my firm closes on the 31st, on the 1st of April, I'll be walking into my new job, doing basically the same thing I do now. So it's all good. I won't be doing marketing. It'll be more sales than marketing, which to me is kind of a shame. I really do enjoy doing the marketing bit, but that's okay. I can do more sales. That's what's needed, and it pays. I am still looking at a couple of other options, if they're better, because originally the job that I was offered was supposed to be temporary, as a stopgap. I know that the person that hired me will not be offended if I say, hey, look, back when it was temporary, I was still looking, I got a job offer, and he's a practical guy. He'll understand. So Monday, bright and squirrely, I got to drive an hour for an interview. Not that the actual job's an hour away from me, but that's where they do the interviews. Because in Vermont, they do everything in one of 3 major places. None of them are where I live. And in fact, they're about an hour away in 3 different directions. Damn it! That's okay. So that's a major relief. On the SCA front, did I do... I'm trying to remember, did I miss a week? No, I think I caught everyone up from the events on my last one. No! So, yeah, because last weekend was the event, right? Yeah. Yes, because I was off on Sunday. I'm sorry, like, this is my brain right now. It has been a busy fucking week. And it's only Thursday night when I'm recording this. So, an event called Mimmer's Well that we hold here in Vermont happened this past weekend, and one of my cords, my students, was running the kitchen. And so I was asked to help her, which I'm fine with. It was the first time I'd worked in the kitchen, like truly worked in the kitchen for an SCA event. I was there pretty much all day. And it was a lot of hard work. Good time. We had a good time, but it was a lot of hard work. And no fighting. No fighting at this event. It's what we call a studium, or a schola. So it's a school. You take classes there. And so someone ran a class on forming pewters. Someone ran a class on weaving. Someone ran a class on sewing. Someone ran a class on music. Someone ran a class on voice heralding, which is basically projecting because in the Middle Ages, they didn't have PAs. So you had to be really good with your voice box. And so that's one of the classes that was held. Is how to project your voice for voice heraldry. And voice heraldry is something that I do. I wasn't the teacher of this class. I wasn't able to attend the class. I was too busy cutting fruit and meat. But it would have been an appropriate class for me to attend, although I think that the Baroness that ran it would probably agree that my voice doesn't need any help. But anyway, so yeah, I'm in the kitchen all day, and we get through the whole thing, and she did a real good job running that kitchen. And I'm not just saying that because she's going to be watching this, because I know she does. She did a damn good job. I'm very proud. But then we get to court. And my other student was getting an award, and so I wanted to call them into court to give them the award. And so we get into court, and I'm up in the area where we're preparing for it, and you get your assignments, and I get my one assignment for the day, and I called them into court. And two of my friends I knew were getting awards as well, and it's called a fencing award called the Silver Rapier, and it's an award for a certain skill level and a certain level of participation, and going out beyond just your own studies. You know, whether it's marshalling, which is a form of safety reffing, or teaching, or research, something. In general, it has to be in addition to just fighting. And so, first friend gets called up. He gets his award. And then the second one was standing next to me. We were both doing voice heralding that day, and he was standing next to me. And I knew it was coming, and so I was going to shove him up when they called him, because I knew he'd hesitate. And then the prince who hands out the awards, and y'all can laugh at my hobbies if you want to, but you know what? I enjoy the hobby, and this group has been around for 56 years, so. And he starts talking about other kingdoms, and I'm like, the hell? So I get called up. And I got my Silver Rapier, and I was just like, holy crap. And what had happened was my friends from the old group that I used to participate with. I have the same level award in the kingdom I came from, or the kingdom I lived in for almost a decade. And they wanted to make sure that I got recognized and that they recognized that. And so they wrote letters to the kingdom here to make sure that, to support the idea that I should get it. And I was just blown away. I was blown away. And that's when the other friend was called up. And it was a good time. I was actually quite emotional at that particular event. So, and this is one of the reasons that I love the Society for Creative Anachronism so much, is that you find really good friends there. True friends. And that's an important thing to have, guys. It's a very important thing to have, and it's not easy to have anymore. Not like it used to be. And part of it is because of the evolution of how we look at things. You know, we can meet people globally now because of this wonderful thing called the internet. I have gone on hunts with people from Russia. I've taken people from I've flown people from Venezuela, from France. I've interacted with people from Japan, it's just awesome. And I've made connections with people that I would not have otherwise even met. I met my lady because of a video game. Actually, I met my lady because of a roommate and a video game. But he introduced us. And she is, because we're like, well, I want to do dungeons. And he's like, we need a healer. Wait, I know somebody. That's how I met my lady. But it's, and I'm not downplaying the personal connections we can make in these games. And I've met people I trust my life with in video games. Really good friends. Friends that you can lose connection with and get back, you know, connect back with again. And it's like no time had passed. I will say this. There have only been a couple times in my life and only two since I came up with the term. Or actually, you know what? I can't take credit for the term. My ex-wife came up with this term. I will give her credit for that. It's one of my favorite statements. And I will give credit to my ex-wife and co-author of the book that we wrote, Rachel Morningvale, for this. There are two people that I will trust my death with. And that's a much higher standard than trusting your life with them. And if you're trying to figure out why, it's if a situation comes where I am not going to make it out alive, and it would be better that it be quick, you know. I could trust them to do it the right way. And it would hurt them. And it would be the hardest thing, one of the hardest things they ever had to do. And I know it's a really strange thing to talk about. And it's the nature of what I do for work that you think about death a lot. Oh, fuck. But it's the truth. And I met those people in the SCA. For the last 14 years, that organization has been a big part of my life. And after 14 years, if an organization like that isn't a big part of your life, I'm surprised you're still in it. So yes, I'm going to geek out about it. I'm going to geek out on my vlog about it. Y'all can deal. And you know, if you're into swords and bows, throwing axes, blacksmithing, weaving, sewing, camping, having a good time with your friends, fighting, armor, singing, if you're into any of that, you should go to SCA.org and find out who's closest to you for a group. Just check it out. Maybe it's for you, maybe it's not. But I guarantee you'll have an experience. I guarantee you'll have an experience. There's always fun to be had in an event. Some events are more fun than others, and you're gonna have that. And some events are hard work. Especially if your group's the one putting the event on. Believe me, if your group's putting the event on, you're gonna be fucking working. There is no getting around that. And my group's event's supposed to be on Memorial Day weekend. We're all kind of concerned that that's going to have to get shut down. And we've already shut down several events, including one of the, I think it's the second biggest one of the year, got canceled because of coronavirus. Because we want to make sure that even if we have to shut a good chunk of this year down, we will still be here next year. But at that event, the event we do on Memorial Day, I work. I show up on Friday, and I work the gate all day. Like last time, we kept gate open until midnight. I started at 11 in the morning, I think, and I walked away at midnight. With only a couple of short breaks. And then Saturday, I got up and I fought all day. And Sunday I got up and I fought all day. And then Monday, I got up in the morning and I helped break everything down. And I don't think we left there until 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Long day. But we had a good time. We had a damn good time. Got a lot of good fighting in. Had a blast. Connected with people. Met people that I needed to meet. And learned some hard truths. That's how you grow. I'm looking forward to this year's event, as long as we can still hold it. My hope is that this whole pandemic thing blows over relatively quickly and doesn't take too many people with it. And I have to say it that way because I'm a very practical person. And what I mean by that is I have actually been trained in public response to pandemic. We actually trained for the an H5N1 outbreak. I was when I was in the State Guard 10 years ago. We were training for either a nuclear event because we were tasked with, there used to be a nuclear reactor in Vermont, and so we were tasked with evacuation if something went wrong with that. That power station has since been safely shut down and completely decommissioned, to my knowledge. And the other thing we were tasked with was pandemic response to an H5N1 outbreak, which at the time was the biggest concern. Although, thankfully to date, no mutation that's easily human transmissible has come out, knock on wood. And so, if I appear a bit cold about what's going on, it's because I had to go through extensive training on how to deal with a pandemic with a 60% death rate. And that's just the way it is. And I'm not saying it's good, I'm just saying it is what it is. But I'm hoping that, you know, we get through this and we're able to hold the event and have a good time. And if not, we'll do it next year. You know, it's not the end of the world. Not even as we know it. And then there's a bigger event in the summer called the Great Northeastern War that I'm planning on going to, assuming I can get the time off and everything goes right. And that's going to be huge. I think 1,000 or 1,200 people go. It's big. It might be bigger than that. And I'm sure that one of my peeps that actually do this with me will correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. But it's large, and so I'm looking forward to going to that too for the first time, because I've been playing for 14 years. I played in Another Kingdom for 7 of it. 8 of it, actually, between 2 kingdoms. And so this is one particular war I've never been to. I've been to war events. And what a war event is, and so just to put it in perspective, so a war event is when you get two groups, usually two different kingdoms, but sometimes it can be two different organizations within a kingdom, which Great Northeastern War is. And then you have War of the Roses, which is a recreation of the actual War of the Roses. So you have people who fight for House Lancaster and people who fight for House York. And you split up and you get into a melee field, and it's one side against the other, and different scenarios get played out. Some are resurrection battles, where if you die, you go back to a res point and you res. Some involve war machines, and that means we're talking like on the heavy field where it's catapults, and on the fencing field you pull out rubber band guns. And we're not talking your grandmother's rubber band gun that you can pick up at the convenience store. We're talking these things shoot surgical tubing rubber bands. And they smart when you get hit with them. And we have a blast doing this stuff. And, whoever wins, points are awarded based on victory or defeat in the melees. And then whoever has the most points at the end of the war, of course, wins the war. And there's not just fighting for the war points, there's also always an arts and sciences war point. Or there's often an arts and sciences war point. And then there are tournament war points. So there'll be a fencing tournament, and whichever side whose champion wins the fencing tournament gets the war point. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. And it's been a long time since I've been to a war event. The last one I went to was before I moved back to Vermont from North Dakota. And it was held in South Dakota. And it's still held in South Dakota every year. It is by far one of my favorite events. Even with all the inclement weather that goes on, including tornadoes. Although, to be fair, we didn't hit the tornado until we were driving back, but we drove pretty much straight into the storm that the tornado was leading. Told ya. If you do the SCA, you're gonna have experiences. Most terrifying thing I have to say, the most terrifying thing I have ever gone through was at that event called Northern Realms War in South Dakota. And the wind had kicked up and it was storming outside. And I am sitting in my tent using my body weight to hold it down because the wind was so high. I wish I was exaggerating. Like, I had my arming bag, so all of my swords and all of my armor were inside the tent. And they were up against the direction of the wind to keep it from lifting. And then I was sitting in the tent to hold it down. And it was a unique experience, to say the least. And by unique, I say fucking terrifying. And I say that with no shame whatsoever. But you live through it. And now it's a memory. I can't wait to make more. Okay, I'll stop gushing and rambling. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Please like, share, and subscribe down below. We are on the road to 13 million subscribers, one subscription at a time, so make sure you subscribe. If you're with me this far, I really appreciate all of your support, guys. You all have a wonderful, wonderful night.